Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of the Gamut Network. I love the woman that we have on today. She is a true pioneer, a groundbreaking, amazing woman who is going to share her story and the amazing platform that she started. Welcome, Gena, to the show. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to dive in. And so let's just first start with your personal journey, your story. Tell us a little bit about the life of Gena.
Okay. I am a mom of four. I live in Connecticut with my husband and kid, dog and cat. I have two boys, 17 and 16, and two girls, 12 and 5. My eldest son is severely autistic. My second son is, one would say, high functioning on the spectrum. And I have two typical daughters. So I lived in New York City when my kids were little and my son was diagnosed, and I worked in magazines for many years. That's what I was doing at the time. And I sort of had to leave it all to manage the needs of my young kids at the time, and sort of figure out how to get an amazing program in place for my son. We then moved up to Connecticut, so I had to transfer all of that up here. And I was a stay-at-home mom for many years until we started up Wolfen Friends a couple of years ago.
So tell me a little bit about when Jasper was diagnosed. How old was he? And did you have any autism in the family, or was this completely a surprise?
So it was completely a surprise. And since he's, as I said, 17, we're talking 15 years ago when he was 2, when no one was really talking about autism. If you can imagine a world where no one talked about autism,
Yeah.
that's what it was 15 years ago. There was no Autism Speaks. There were no big charities or agencies, out there in the universe. I lived in New York City and didn't know anybody who had a child with autism. So around his 14-month checkup, he just wasn't gaining language. And my pediatrician said, asked all the standard questions. Does he have 1 or 2 words? Does he do this? Does he do that? And he didn't. So she said, okay, let's check back in a month and see where we are. I came back in a month, still no words. And she immediately referred me to early intervention in New York
Hmm.
City, for which I'm super grateful, because you hear lots of stories of pediatricians of kids that age saying, oh, he's a late talker, or,
Of
oh,
course.
don't worry
Yeah.
about it. Yeah. So I'm really, looking back, I'm really grateful that my pediatrician immediately said, this is out of my wheelhouse. Let's get you the help you need. So we sort of got quickly involved in the whole process of early intervention in New York City, which is, amazing and crazy, but really wonderful. And they loaded me up with services over the course of those first 4 or 5 months. He got speech, he got OT, he got some play therapy. And then right before his second birthday, he got an official diagnosis of autism. And we, moved into the world of ABA and 35 hours a week and all those things.
And what was that like as a new parent, right? He's
Oh,
your first.
like, so
There's no rule books on being a parent, certainly not of a parent with a child with a disability. Uh, Tell us a little bit about that stage of your life.
it was so sad and scary and isolating. And I was just like a deer in headlights. Like I said, I knew nobody who had a kid with special needs. I had all my friends from college. We were living in New York City, you know, young and working, and had apartments, and were starting to have babies and had these super happy, easy lives. And all of a sudden, I couldn't take my kid to the, get-togethers with everybody with their kids, because my kid was running in circles or screaming or having, meltdowns. I couldn't take him pretty much anywhere. And I was like, I felt like nobody understood what I was going through, because all of my friends had these easy, typical kids. So I, asked everyone I knew, does anybody know anybody who has a kid with special needs, really to help me, more than anything, to help me navigate the system
Mm.
in New York, to figure all specialists I needed to see. And I was connected to one friend of a friend who brought me to my first support group with a bunch of parents whom, I felt like I had nothing in common with, but I was so excited to have this in common with people who were a little bit ahead of me and, had some advice to offer.
And support. I think that's a big word that we have hit on a lot in the Gamut Network is the notion of community and support, which of course is foreshadowing Wolfen Friends. But that's a little side note. So I'm sure you were so grateful to your friend of a friend who opened up this world to you. So then as you're navigating this, Felix comes into your life.
Yes.
And
so my boys were 15 months apart. I was like deep in it. Yeah.
Were you nervous to have another child?
Well, it just sort of happened, if you know what I mean.
Got it. We're all adults here. We got it.
And when Felix was born, Jasper was 15 months. So I really just had started the process of exploring what was going on with him, and probably completely in denial at that point that it would, that I would get an actual diagnosis that would lead to a lifelong issue. So I had, when Jasper was diagnosed, Felix was like 4 or 5 months old. So, I mean, I was just like in it, really in it. And then watching Felix like a hawk, of course, to make sure he was developing typically, which he wasn't. So I then ended up with all of the same services for Felix. So imagine me, 2 toddlers in New York City.
I can't.
Like hours and hours of therapy all day long. It was insane.
So, and then years later, we had Lulu and Indy. I mean, does she have the best names ever or what? I'm curious, and I'm sure maybe other moms out there too. I know what I had to go through to get my husband on board to have a third after Oliver came into our life. He was terrified to have another child. What did you encounter anything like that when you said, I think you need some more?
My husband would have had 10 kids.
Yeah.
Special needs or not. He loves having kids and was fully supportive. We made a conscious effort to have girls following my boys because the odds of autism are stacked 3 or 4 to 1 boys to girls. So we felt like if we had girls, the odds would be in our favor. And I was desperate for more kids, and I was desperate for daughters. So we got very lucky, and we have 2 typical daughters.
How beautiful. So now you have this incredibly wild, full life of the 2 boys and then the 2 girls, and you were stay at home for some time in your life. What was the pivot to say, I think I have an opportunity here to help, to pick your head up and say there's more people out there that could use resources and help to get to forming Wolfen Friends?
So my business partner, Carissa Totsi, came to me about 3.5, 4 years ago with this idea, the original idea for Wolfen Friends. Interestingly, she has 1 typical child. So she didn't come to it from a place of, we have special needs kids, let's do this. She came to it from a place of watching so many people she knew over the years have children that were diagnosed with things like autism, sensory processing disorders, speech delays, the whole gamut, and feeling like she had been sending all those moms to me. Oh, you must call my friend Gena. She knows all the best doctors, therapists, toys, everything you need to know. And she came to me because she felt like there was a white space in the market. Nobody was addressing these moms raising these kids. So she brought the idea to me to put together a site of basically shopping ideas, bite-sized tips, home decor, fashion, all for moms raising kids with special needs. So we went for it on our own. We started talking to specialists, to OTs and speech therapists and behaviorists to get sort of little stories together. We started talking to moms in the community. We put up a Instagram and a Facebook feed, and we sort of just started gathering this following of moms who were all so excited to have a place to know that they weren't alone.
Actually, that probably took you back to 15 years ago.
Yeah.
When you didn't even know where to begin in New York City. We're searching out people that could give you help, where now you're paying it forward and it's all located in one place. And was it's more directed to cognitive disabilities or both physical and cognitive?
You know, it's for anybody who's raising a child that's differently wired, that feels like they don't fit in.
Mm.
What we have ended up with is many more people with children with cognitive difficulties, but we're sort of here for everyone. We have moms with kids with rare disorders you've never heard of. It's a matter of finding a place where you feel like you can talk about these issues that your kids are facing, that people who are just raising typical kids don't necessarily understand.
Amazing. So tell us how people can get to Wolfen Friends, the website, any social platforms. Tell us how to do that.
Okay, so we also have an app. We have a social network on the Mighty Networks. Basically, go to www.wolfenfriends.com and you will find access to all of the things that we have going on. Our Instagram handle is @wolfenfriends.app. We have a Facebook page, so you can find us in all those places.
Amazing. And how did you come up with the name?
Carissa's son's name is Wolf.
Oh, I love that.
Wolves are pack animals, and she liked the idea of both the animal wolf and to signify her son being inclusive and, joining all of these kids together.
Amazing. So before we go, I like to ask all my guests one final question, and that's about the power of a vision board. Putting your hopes, wishes, dreams, who you want to meet, what you want to do in your life out there, whether it's in your head or on a physical board. If I took a peek onto Gena's vision board, what would I see?
Oh, wow. I feel like the vision board has changed over the years. I feel like for so many years, my only driver was being a mom. And still, that's the biggest part of my life, is doing the best I can for these 4 kids and, raising them right. I feel like my partner, Carissa, really opened up in me that desire for entrepreneurship and the feelings of being able to take my experience and help other people based on my experience. So now I feel like I have all these images of female entrepreneurs that are super impressive, and I want to go out and conquer the world.
I love it, and as you will. And where do you see Wolfen Friends 5-10 years down the pike?
I mean, we would love to grow our community of moms, both in the United States where it is now and worldwide. There are moms who write to us from all over the world begging for us to be able to, do our stuff there. We'd love to be able to open it up to dads and caregivers and grandparents. I feel like there is a whole world of people who are raising kids that are different, that just feel like they don't have a place to go that's safe and judgment free, and they can, feel included.
Amazing. What a trailblazer you are, a pioneer. I'm so honored to know you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. And I cannot encourage everyone enough to please go download their app, look at the website, follow them on social media, as it's unbelievably impressive and a true resource for moms and hopefully dads and caregivers everywhere. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
If you would like to be on the Gamut Network, please email us at talent@gamutmanagement.com to tell us why you'd be a great guest. Please also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Gamut Network, as well as follow us on our social platforms of Gamut Management. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.